I went and seen Thor: Love and Thunder because, well, first of all, I wasn't there during the last review, so I definitely had to see it so we can review it this time. Obviously, going into it, the hype just isn't there. Like, the hype was never there. Like, obviously, the hype going into Spider-Man, the hype going into Doctor Strange was, like, at an all-time high. And then it just felt weird because the hype for this was nearly non-existent, especially for one of the pillars of the Avengers. I thought that was kind of weird. But this movie, like, I didn't really have any good expectations of it. I only saw it because I knew we would review it, which is probably not a good thing to go into a Marvel movie thinking. The comedy in this movie just didn't hit at all. Right? Like, in trying to make a superhero movie, you kind of made a parody of what a superhero movie is supposed to be.
It was like Spaceballs.
The comedy was very obnoxious, and I can't think of a better example of that obnoxious comedy or the comedy going too far than the Space Goats.
Like, why? There were a lot of why moments in this movie, and the comedy was one of them. It was like Taika Waititi wrote himself so much into this movie that the characters sounded like Taika Waititi, and it was off-putting to see at certain points. Like, having Natalie Portman joke as if she is Taika Waititi was off-putting. And I understand they were trying to, I guess the side of it was kind of like, oh, well, Jane's got these new powers and she's just super kiddish and excited, but like, she's also like a doctor. Yeah, you know, like several times over. You know what I mean? A world-renowned scientist, and she's not going to, you know, geek out like a frat boy. You know, even in their most excited times, that's just not who she is. Same thing with Valkyrie. She went from this like cold, calculated drunk, but still very, you know, astute and very, very, very capable, to kind of being a loaf, like a lackey in this movie.
To that point, the character's development in this movie seemed rushed. I guess Jane is supposed to be Thor, but even that kind of felt like the biggest plot point in that was her trying to come up with a catchphrase. Like, that was her, like, one of her biggest things, as opposed to her actually developing as Thor.
And then what she landed on was "Eat my hammer."
Eat my hammer.
There were a couple times I laughed, but I felt like they weren't the times that I was supposed to be laughing. And then also, just kind of tonally, like, Gorr is doing Pennywise impressions with the kids, and then goes back to trying to be a hard ass with Thor. How am I supposed to take him seriously after he was just, hey, you know what I mean? I'm like, what are we doing? What are you doing here?
Gorr as a character was extremely disappointing.
He didn't do anything. He was God the God-Butcher, and we didn't actually see him kill a single god.
We seen Thor kill more
gods than her. Yeah, literally, like, we didn't see him slaughter anyone, really. I mean, he hit Valkyrie, so he hit a god adjacent whose role was nerfed in this movie, and we will talk more about that for sure, because it seemed like her only role in this was to belligerently call herself a king, because I guess that's, you know, gender pronoun positive. Is it? I don't know. I don't even know what that was.
I guess technically it's not pronoun.
I don't know what it is, because it was just but it was whatever they was trying to tell us. They was gonna make sure we heard something out of it, because like over and over and over, not a single person called herself a queen, called her a queen, whatever. That, and to remind us that she's gay, and to get, you know, the only person who's incapacitated to the point that she can't fight in the final battle scene. But that's interesting, because wasn't Jane draining her actual human life force every time she was changing? Yes, so she had a much more valid reason to not end up fighting in the final battle scene than Valkyrie, right?
Like, literally, if she was Thor again, she would die, which is
what would end up happening. So the jokes, Valkyrie's role, Gorr was very so. I think the scenes where he was trying to be serious were fine. He just didn't. It never We never leaped the threshold. You know, we never got anywhere with it.
Even the origin story of Gorr seemed rushed, and there were comical aspects in that. I don't know, it's just weird. I probably shouldn't be laughing at him losing his daughter, and thus
and then
killing
the
a
god
god.
shitting on him like I just don't know how I was supposed to take most of what was supposed to be serious in this movie serious when you're writing it like this. Like, yeah. Doom Patrol is great for a 10 episode series. Would I watch a Doom Patrol movie? I don't know. Probably not. Because tonally, what kind of stakes can you present to me that's going to make the amount of humor you're going to have to cram into a 2-hour movie bearable? It was to the point of unbearabiliness. Which one of those is correct?
Unbearability.
Unbearability?
That sounds better.
Okay. Unbearability. The Pantheon of Gods was so underwhelming. Yes. I mean, so underwhelming.
Yes.
Let's get into it here for a second. First of all, let's throw out the fact that the only god that we actually got acknowledged in that whole thing was goddamn Zeus. And Lord Jesus, I don't think I've seen a Russell Crowe performance that I disliked more. I don't like, was that fucking Russian Zeus? Is that what that Russian Zeus in a skirt? Like, okay, yeah. Humor is one thing. Slapstick humor that makes absolutely no sense. Like, what is that? What is that? And then that's the only god that you put up? That's not even my biggest gripe. The last time we talked about Thor: Love and Thunder, why were we talking about it?
Because an actress got cast for Bast to be in this movie.
Do you remember seeing Bast in this movie? Am I tripping?
I did not see Bast or any. They mentioned Egyptian gods, but
did you see Bast?
No.
Now, I know I'm not bugging, right? I know I'm not tripping. We all saw the same casting announcements for this movie. And we all shared the same excitement for Bast to show up in this movie. My concern and excitement, but excitement all the same. Where was Bast in this movie? What happened? Why did you announce that this girl was going to be in your movie and then cut all her scenes? Not that I was overly upset at the fact that we had to miss Bast in this movie, because it wouldn't have been the best time for her to be premiering, honestly, because my overall grade for the movie isn't that great. Mm-hmm. But even still, we were promised something.
Yeah.
What happened? And that was an official Marvel announcement. And then, conversely, I haven't really seen a whole bunch of where's Bast?
Yeah. Well,
where's Bast? I thought we were going to get the Black Goddess in this movie. What happened? I haven't seen a whole bunch of people. I have seen a lot of people talking about, oh, it was okay, or oh, I liked it, or oh, it was fine, it was meh, it was middle of the road. Not a single person asking, where is Bast in this movie?
Would you have wanted to have seen Bast in a movie that was
in all seriousness? Yes, because that's what they told us. It was one of the only positive things I was looking to see out of this movie, and lo and behold, the thing that gets cut ends up being the black thing.
I guess I mean in the sense that this movie basically just ended up being a comedy movie, and tonally it probably wouldn't have fit
that none
anywhere.
of the gods died, and that was my main concern for all of this. Yeah, I absolutely. Like, if that's all that we would have gotten, is a quick throwaway scene of Bast, and she would have been safe to live on, because then we can do away with that whole. Well, we can definitely do away with it now, but like the whole old Bast gets killed by a Gorr, and then that's how T'Challa dies. So it leads me to believe that part of it is going to be something much more plain and mundane. It's not going to be anything fantastical like what we're thinking up. It's going to be very based and grounded, which makes me feel like they're going to liken his death to what actually happened to Chadwick Boseman in real life.
Which is way worse.
y'all, wake up. I'm gonna say it a little bit here. We're gonna say it again in our segment we got about the MCU Phase 4. But please ask for more. Please ask for more. It's not okay. It is absolutely morbid to write this man's real life death into a movie that they're going to make millions of dollars off of. The kind of message that sends is insane. So yeah, if they were going to show a black goddess in this movie that lived on and was set up to be, you know, seen in future pictures, that's much more positive than what I was thinking they were going to do to her.
Yeah.
Why were the Guardians of the Galaxy even in this movie? I mean, they barely were in the movie as it is, but why? What purpose did they serve?
And for them to be credited all throughout the whole thing, for them to be a focal point of one of the trailers.
Oh my God! Like, yeah,
they were barely in it.
What was the point? At one point, it was like, oh yeah, we got to split up to fight all and to help all these gods that are dying, you know, all from Gorr, which we never saw once again. Mm-hmm. But then they never checked in with them. He never said, "Oh, how's it going over there, guys? Has Gorr showed up? Is he over there?" Nope. Conveniently, we know exactly where he's going. He's going right where we're going. No further searching needed, I guess. But yeah, they played absolutely no role in this movie whatsoever. But the meaningless jokes that they did for the 2.5 minutes that they were in it, and then poof, all gone.
I feel like the only two things that I really got from this movie that were like really positive is the cinematography and like the colorfulness of it, which
but
is not
that's base level Marvel stuff, and you've given me that for 30 films now. I'm not. But even in that, some of the CGI fights in here were absolutely awful. They were fucking terrible.
Bad. Like when they had Heimdall's son show up as a vision. Christ. That was awful. That was probably some of the worst CGI I've ever seen.
The initial fight with him and Gorr was heavy CGI. Mm-hmm. There was a point where the thing that we seen in the trailer where the big humongous god had died. He had got slayed. He was out in like some frozen tundra, right? And so he walks out, sees it, and then flies over to do it, and I was just like, "Oh, what in the CW am I looking at right now?"
Yeah.
Like, what is this? He like jumps off the cliff over to the guy, and it was just like, y'all got to do better than this, man. I liked Mjolnir more with Jane than I've liked it with anybody else.
I would agree with that.
Like
now that it's broken, it can like come apart.
Much more souped up version of Mjolnir. I found the whole
love triangle
flirting. Yes, him flirting with the fucking hammer like it's his actual ex to be a little off-putting. Like we already have the kind of awkward, seeing your ex after a long time kind of relationship with Jane and Thor. So we have plenty of that already, and that spanned through the whole movie as it is. So to have on top of that him flirting with the hammer and having jealous Stormbreaker, it's just like, okay, how much of that do we actually need? Like, okay, one of those, pick one.
No, that was
like,
you know what?
One.
Okay, so I said the space goats. Both of those, the whole love triangle thing and the space goats, just perfect examples of maybe you're doing this one too many times.
Yeah, it's like, dog.
The first or second time,
we get it.
You did like 6-7 times.
We get what you think is funny. We understand that that's how you make movies. But like, fam, move on. Come on. Like, take the narrative on somewhere. Like, the narrative, it felt so damn choppy in this movie because we went from Gorr's family is murdered. Gorr starts murdering gods. Gorr runs into Thor and takes Stormbreaker, opens up the gate to eternity, and then as he's standing at the altar has a change of heart and just asks for his daughter back. And then Thor agrees to raise his daughter because
why
he's
not?
a great guy.
Yeah. Because Thor needs a daughter.
And Gorr entrusts Thor, the person he's been fighting for the last hour and a half, to raise his daughter for the rest of her life. Because He's a good guy.
Gorr had so much more potential to be one of the top tier villains. I just feel like that just fell
And of
flat
course
completely.
he dies because all Marvel villains die. But not white heroes though, because even after Jane Foster perishes in the mortal world, we get to see her in Valhalla. Now imagine that. We get to see Mark Spector in his afterlife. We get to see Jane Foster in Valhalla. Do you think we will ever see T'Challa on the ancestral plane?
I think there's actually precedent for her to actually be brought back to life too.
Yeah, so no, that's fine. But she died.
No, she clearly
died. So to see her die and then show her in heaven in the same movie is like OD when you think about how they are trying to treat the black main character within the Marvel MCU currently.
But that's my point, is that if they are setting this up for her to be brought back at some point, there is precedent for her to come back, but we've already heard Nate Moore say T'Challa's not coming back at all.
Yeah, that's the point is what I'm getting at.
No, I agree.
You know, even in death, we're able to see these characters live on. Even in death. So again, when you say T'Challa has to die, Thor Love and Thunder is a perfect example of why that is horseshit. Jane Foster died and went to her afterlife in the same damn movie. Mark Spector died and we saw him walk through his afterlife on his ancestral plane. And there's more of a precedence to see, as y'all like to point out on Twitter all the time, former Black Panthers, right? On the ancestral plane, when anyone goes there, any future Black Panther is going to have to go to the ancestral plane. How are you going to explain not seeing T'Challa on the ancestral plane? If he died of some mortal disease like cancer, how are you going to explain him not being on the ancestral plane when Shuri goes there? Or M'Baku, for some reason, ends up in an ancestral plane that he never believed in before? How are you going to explain that? And it's not just a one-time thing. Anybody, since y'all plan on playing hot potato with the mantle, anybody who assumes the role is going to have to go there. How many times are you going to go there and not see T'Challa and make that make sense? You not only have to kill him in his actual life, but you have to kill him out of his ancestral life, as well as ancestral plane is his afterlife. You have to kill him in his afterlife. You have to kill him to a degree that makes sure that he's not even in heaven. See how fucking fast and loose they playing with this stuff now? They will give you everything that you are asking for when it has a different face on it, but when it's us, there's all these caveats. There's all these reasons why. Chadwick Boseman's death cannot be the reason why we do not get equal to everyone else that they're trying to please right now. Chris Hemsworth gets to play Thor forever, and it gets to be that character for iterations on and on for years and years to come, and we get hot potato.
Yes.
Got it. I just wanted to make sure I understood how things work.
No, you're right.
That's weird. He gets to share his role for one movie, one very light movie, and then go right back to it.
Yep.
Cool.
That's exactly what happened.
Cool. What is your out of 10 rating?
6.5.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
I'll give it a 5. I felt like the plot was loose.
Yes.
The comedy was off-putting at times, so tone and pace were an issue, and I also didn't get something that I was explicitly promised to appear in this movie, and surprise, it's something about my community, so par for the course.
I felt like it was average, but maybe slightly above average.
Give us your thoughts on the movie. What did you think? Give us a score 1 through 10. What did you think about our review? Tell us in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and come back for more movie reviews.
And make sure you check out our other Marvel content, which we have a ton of. And make sure you subscribe because, again, we like to talk about a lot of just different things happening in the MCU.